I think finding a parking spot in Manhattan was the most miraculous thing that you just mentioned. But
do you guys know this SNL skit? Do you guys watch SNL? There's this old one with Sally Field, and I think it's Phil Hartman is Jesus. I mean, Phil Hartman should be Jesus. Like he's just like such a great voice. But there's this SNL skit where Sally Field is like, this mother at home. The kids are off to school, and she's like, "Dear Jesus, oh Jesus, I hope that she's made all these ridiculous asks. Like, I hope they're okay with the fact that I cut off the ends of their sandwiches, like the crust are off, and like, dear Jesus, help me to do that well." Help me to cut off these crusts. And she's just, I'm making that up. I forget what the actual things are, but she's asking all these ridiculous things. Suddenly, smoke fills the room and Phil Hartman enters and he's Jesus. He's like, hey. And basically he's like, it's really busy up there. And it's just like, you're just asking a lot of a lot of not so great things. Listen, sometimes wisdom can sound like evasion. One of the things I think you're getting at is this idea of like, well, why pray? Mm-hmm. Like at some level we pray because I want something, I need something, I can't get it myself, so I'm going to ask someone who can. Right? That's, if we're getting back to like this really base vision of prayer as petition, that's why. Why did you pray? Because you needed something and you can't get it for yourself.
Right.
But that's not the only reason we pray. Mm-hmm. Right? Like that we pray because sometimes it's just really good to say out loud what it is you want. And by saying that out loud, and putting that before the face of God, you get to see it through his eyes, at best case scenario, right? Like, oh, you know what? I really want that, but it's kind of an ugly thing. Or I really want that and it's really tender and good. And I'm not convinced you're going to give it to me, but I will practice this crazy hope that you are the God who promises that you'll always be there for me.
Yeah.
That actually, and the really cheap way of looking at that is like, it's just good to ask. But it is actually just really good to ask that there's actually something incredibly vulnerable and formative about consistently reminding yourself you're not God. Because if you were, you could have just done it for yourself. But instead, I want this precious thing, and I am not sure you will give it to me. But with the most faltering of faith, I can at least ask. Mm-hmm. Like that, I think, is one of the more profound human acts that we can do. Yeah. And there's a way, like Sally, it's funny. That's a funny skit.
Yeah.
But this idea that the asking itself matters.
Yeah. Right.
I thought something I emphasize a lot is that this prayer is in some sense, the good things that we're asking for is in some sense less of a good than the intimacy that prayer can bring about between you and God. Yeah. Because I don't think it's accidental when Jesus is talking about prayer in the Gospels. He's consistently talking about it's prayer to your Father. And your Father, comparing it. He sometimes does talk about the unjust judge, but the dominant analogy is which of you fathers would give to your children stone instead of bread, right? Or serpent instead of fish, right? So that's the dominant metaphor. And I think that's not accidental. It's like this, like it's within the family relationships that we ask for even these little things. It's like, Dad, Mom, could I have this? Could I have that? And it's in that everyday, even in these quotidian things where it's like that relationship, it's like a consistent everyday kind of thing, right?
It's asking in the context of relationship.
Exactly.
And Jesus, when he teaches them how to pray, it's not just Father, it's Abba, famously, this really intimate term. I think I've always thought Aladdin, the Disney movie, is the most theologically significant movie that my kids have watched because it's just a great like farce parable on what it would be like if God answered every prayer unequivocally when you rub the bottle, right? And it's like...
This is back to your original question.
Yeah, things just go totally haywire, right? When you actually get everything you want. And it's like that famous vignette in James K. Smith's You Are What You Love book, which I love, is like, you don't actually want to go into that room. It's some Danish movie or something. I can't remember what it's called, but there's like a room that you go into. And if you went in there, you'd get everything that you want. And it would be like, the fear is like, I actually don't know what I want. And I'm pretty sure if I got everything I wanted, it would go very badly for me. So there's a sense of that being a conversation with your parent, with your father, with your Abba that actually brings it into context.